Good morning. The Sustainability City Light and Arts and Culture Committee meeting will come to order. It is 9:31 a.m. September 5th, 2025. I am Alexis Mercedes Rink, chair of the committee, and will the committee clerk please call the roll?
Vice Chair Juarez.
Here.
Councilmember Saka. Councilmember Saka, I think you.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Okay. Councilmember Strauss.
Present.
Councilmember Solomon.
Here.
Chair Rink.
Present.
Chair, there are 5 members present.
Thank you. If there is no objection, the agenda will be adopted. Hearing no objection, the agenda is adopted. We have a packed agenda today with 4 items we need to vote on and 2 public hearings, so we are going to move right into the hybrid public comment period. Public comment should relate to items on today's agenda and within the purview of this committee. For those registered to speak to public hearings on items 1 and 2, we will accept comments on this item once we reach those items and open the public hearings. Clerk, how many speakers are signed up for today?
Currently, we have 1 in-person speaker and 0 remote speakers.
Thank you. Our 1 speaker will have 2 minutes. And clerk, will you please read the public comment instructions?
The public comment period will be moderated in the following manner. The public comment period is up to 30 minutes. Speakers will be called in the order in which they are registered. Speakers will hear a chime when 10 seconds are left on their time. Speakers' mics will be muted if they do not end their comments within the allotted time to allow us to call on the next speaker.
The public comment period is now open, and we will begin with the first speaker on the list.
The first in-person speaker is a dude.
Is this the one I'm supposed to talk in? This is the one I'm supposed to talk in. It's kind of low.
I think both should be working. Whichever one. You might want to use this one. It's a little bit higher.
A little taller. I like this one. All right. Thank you so much. I didn't realize this was such a broad committee, and so I feel like I should address the elephant in the room, city light, power bill. I'm kind of like between windfalls at the moment, and so like as soon as I have a chunk of money coming in, you guys are going to get paid. Like I'm going to send my guys over here. They're going to take care of this. It's a city light thing, all right? I just want to address the elephant in the room, right? But what I'm really here to talk today is about the arts. I'm here to talk about these guys, Lil Lebowski, urban underachievers. They're real good. They're real good. I think we should like give them the key to the city, maybe like a Lil Lebowski day, like September 5th, Lil Lebowski day. Just think about this for the future, right? Got these lyrics in their song. One of them is, my turtle drowned the other day. It was a reptile. But a riptide of tears came down. There's a silence in the sound when there's no one else around. The things you do when you can't get out. And there's a confidence and belief as I paint you this motif. Indigenous Negro knees tell a prince by his golden teeth. She scrapes a keef off her keys. In an old school Mitsubishi, she bows her head. Mushy, mushy. I'm so close. Please don't push me. Ah, looky, looky. Ah, looky, looky. I got that. I want that quail and that kale. I want that Keenan and that kale. You say you're hard as hell, but your shit's soft, like cottonelle. Let's go. They've also got this other lyric. It's like, give me all your keys. Give me all your keys. Give me all your keys. I'm here to break into your city, all right? It's like, give me all your keys, man. Give me all your keys. I'm here to break into your city, right? It's good stuff, right? So I'm just thinking, September 5th, Lil Lebowski Day, right? We can do this? We do this, Dan Strauss? Yes? Lil Lebowski Day, yes, thumbs up. All right. Councilmember Rink. Lil Lebowski Day, September 5th. Mr. Solomon, Lil Lebowski Day. It's like a little smile, maybe. A little smile. All right, never mind, forget that smile, we don't need that. Anyway, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it. It's been lovely. I'll see y'all soon. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, A Dude. And with that, there are no additional registered speakers, and we will proceed to our items of business. All right, we will move to our first item of business. Will the clerk please read item 1 into the record?
Item 1, Resolution 32176, a resolution relating to the City Light Department, acknowledging and approving the City Light Department's adoption of a biennial energy conservation target for 2026-2027 and a 10-year conservation potential. Discussion and possible vote.
As presiding officer, I am now opening the public hearing on Resolution 32176. Public comment relating to Resolution 32176 is only being accepted at this time. Clerk, how many speakers do we have signed up for this public hearing?
Currently, we have 0 in-person speakers and 0 remote speakers.
Okay. There is not a member of the public present for this public hearing on Resolution 32176, and the public hearing is now closed. This item is scheduled for a vote on the same day as the public hearing, and the rules must be suspended to allow us to move forward with a vote today. If there is no objection, the rules will be suspended to allow the committee to vote on the same day a public hearing was held. Hearing no objection, the rules are suspended and the committee will proceed with a vote. And then I believe we're moving to, wonderful, we'll be turning it over to City Light. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Committee Chair Rink and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to present. We definitely don't want to prevent this. We want to present this. Seattle City Light's proposed energy conservation targets for 2026 and 2027. In early August, we presented Seattle City Light's biennial energy conservation target for the next 2 years, along with a 10-year conservation potential. These targets are consistent with state requirements under the Washington Energy Independence Act, Initiative 937, as well as the Clean Energy Transformation Act, CETA, both of which require utilities like City Light to pursue all available conservation that is cost-effective, reliable, and feasible. We return today to address any additional questions so the committee can move to adopt the resolution identifying a conservation target of 16 average megawatts for 2026-2027 and a conservation potential of 78 average megawatts for the 10-year period starting in 2026. I also want to call attention to some additional information that I asked staff to develop and share with the committee that shows the cumulative impact of the City of Seattle's conservation-focused energy code, plus the energy conservations achieved by Seattle City Light in partnership with our customers. Energy conservation remains one of our top resource choices. It is low cost, low risk, and has minimal environmental impact. It reduces demand on our system and helps us avoid costly infrastructure investments while supporting Seattle's climate and affordability goals.
Thank you. Shall we do introductions first? Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Jennifer Finnegan. I am in Customer Energy Solutions.
I'm Craig Smith, Chief Customer Officer at City Light.
Joe Fernandi, Director of Customer Energy Solutions.
Oh, Dawn Window, General Manager and CEO of Seattle City Light.
So, are my slides showing? First one, yeah. Okay, thank you. So, good morning, council members. We are here today to seek your approval of 2-year and 10-year conservation targets for Seattle City Light. This is a state legislative mandate or requirement set by Washington Initiative 937 and the Washington Energy Independence Act. Those require us to come before you every 2 years to seek approval for these conservation targets. So this is part 2 of a conversation that we started with you back in August. We have a very short presentation for you today. We are seeking your approval. We have one new slide of information, and we're here to answer your questions as well. The next item on today's agenda, the Clean Energy Implementation Plan, which is part of the Clean Energy Transformation Act, is tied to this in a small way, in that that requires us to set a 4-year conservation target. All of these things are tied together. So this is our official request for you today. We are seeking your approval of a 10-year conservation target of 78 average megawatts and a 2-year conservation target of 16 average megawatts. We calculated these targets based on the conservation potential assessment using methodology set by the state. The 2-year conservation target represents an 11% decrease from the last time we came before you. And the lower target is a result of market conditions, particularly in vacant office space, high policy uncertainty at the federal level, past program performance, and the lower target is due in part to the stronger energy codes that we experience here in Seattle and in Washington State. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next slide. So the last time I came before you, we discussed that when energy codes get more stringent, energy targets go down because utilities can only claim energy savings that are above the mandated energy code and standards. So we wanted to create a graphic that represents that impact, and we wanted to show that to you. So the last time I came before you, I showed the past biennial targets in a slide that's very similar to this, which is on the screen, and it is on slide 14, if you want to go to refer to that. This graphic is a zoom in for the past 5 biennial conservation targets. Let me orient you to what's on the screen. The horizontal axis is time, and this is shown in 2-year increments or biennia, starting in 2014 and 2015, and going through 2022 through 23. The vertical axis is average megawatts, and one average megawatt is the equivalent energy used by 1,200 Seattle homes. The black bars represent biennial targets that have been approved by the City Council in the past. What is new and different is that the yellow areas shown in the 2018 and 2019 forward biennia are the impacts of the federal standards. Federal standards are set by the U.S. Department of Energy. They are approved by Congress, and they set the minimum standards for energy use for things that are sold here in the United States. These standards can apply to everything from air conditioners to refrigerators. The blue areas represent the Washington State Energy Code and the Seattle Energy Code. And the reason why I zoomed into the period starting at 2014 and 2015 is because we had Washington State Energy Code that goes into place every 3 years. We have good data going back to the 2016 Energy Code, or 2015 Energy Code and the 2018 Energy Code. So when the Washington State Energy Code, the 2015 Washington State Energy Code went into place, it impacts buildings that are permitted. And then it takes time for those permitted buildings to be built, and then for the energy savings to be achieved. And that is why the amount of energy savings increases over time for federal standards and Washington State codes and Seattle energy codes. If we look into the 2020 and 2021 biennium, we're showing that the impact of the federal codes and standards and the Washington and local energy codes and standards is about 61%. So had those not been in place, our targets would have been much higher. And that impact is magnified even more when we looked at the 2022 through 23 time period. So the reason why we are here today is to seek your approval of the 10-year conservation target of 78 average megawatts and the 2-year conservation target of 16 average megawatts.
Thank you. Colleagues, I know we had a robust discussion on this topic last meeting, and so having City Light come back today to provide this last additional piece and for us to take action. Any questions at this time? Councilmember Strauss.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I don't have additional comments to share after our long conversation at the last committee meeting. Thank you for all your work. I will just say thank you because that additional slide put into visual representation a lot of the conversation that we had in my office in the briefing and out here on the dais. So I just thank you for your work. Keep up the good job.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Madam Chair.
Councilmember Vice Chair Juarez.
Thank you. Again, I couldn't find the little hand. Now I just saw it. So thank you for recognizing me.
Of course.
I just have a quick question. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I just wanted to ask, I think it was Jennifer that opened up for us and gave us the kind of background on this PowerPoint. So Initiative 937, is that the state law that was passed in 2007?
Yes, that was the one that was
Okay.
passed in 2007. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, so do we have a Seattle municipal code that's the same as that codified the state? Or is it just, we just go by state law for Seattle City Light?
I know that we have Seattle Municipal Code that gives us permission to offer energy efficiency incentives. And
Okay.
that's similar to what the demand response authority that we're seeking from you today. I believe that authority was asked or requested around that same time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Juarez.
You.
Colleagues, any additional questions? If there are none, I will be moving us forward to say I move that the committee recommend confirmation of Resolution 32176. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. That's my job, Councilmember Strauss. I'm the vice chair. I have one job, and I want to do it well.
Boss, that was Mark. It wasn't me.
Oh, it's Mark. Oh, okay, sorry.
That was me. Okay.
Sorry.
No, fine.
I withdraw my second. Okay, so
I'm quoting the line from Galaxy Quest, where what's it in Spock talks to the computer. You have one job. I want to do it well.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, Vice Chair.
You guys got to be in a good mood. Friday, it's sunny.
It has been moved and seconded a number of times to recommend the adoption of the resolution. Are there any comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll on the committee recommendation to adopt the resolution?
Vice Chair Juarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Saka.
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon.
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss.
Aye.
Chair Rink.
Yes.
There are 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions.
Wonderful. The motion carries, and the committee recommendation that the resolution will be sent to the September 16th City Council meeting. Thank you. And with that, will the clerk please read item 2 into the record?
Resolution 32181, a resolution relating to the City Light Department, approving the City Light Department's 2026-2029 Clean Energy Implementation Plan as required by Washington State's Clean Energy Transformation, Chapter 19.405 RCW. Briefing, discussion, and possible vote.
As the presiding officer, I am now opening the public hearing on Resolution 32181. Public comment relating to Resolution 32181 is only being accepted at this time. Clerk, how many speakers are signed up for this public hearing?
We have 0 in-person and 0 remote speakers at this time.
There's not a member of the public present for this public hearing on Resolution 32181, and this public hearing is now closed. One moment. This item is scheduled for a vote on the same day as a public hearing, and the rules must be suspended to allow us to move forward with a vote today. If there is no objection, the rules will be suspended to allow the committee to vote on the same day a public hearing was held. Hearing no objection, the rules are suspended. The committee will be able to proceed with a vote. And with that, we have our presenters at the table. Please introduce yourselves for the record before speaking.
Hello, this is Dawn Lindell. I'm the General Manager and CEO for Seattle City Light.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Finnegan with Customer Energy Solutions.
Good morning, council members. Mike Haynes, Chief Operating Officer.
Good morning, Gracia Lenes, Environmental Equity Advisor at City Light.
Good morning, Dylan King, Strategic Community Outreach and Engagement Advisor.
Please proceed. Thank you.
All right, good morning, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to present the 2026-2029 Clean Energy Implementation Plan. This is a critical step in advancing Seattle's commitment to climate action, energy equity, and long-term sustainability. This plan fulfills our statutory obligation under Washington's Clean Energy Transformation Act and aligns with the city's broader strategic goals, including the mayor's executive order on climate and the 2024 Integrated Resources Plan. Beyond compliance, this is about preparing our community for cleaner, healthier, and more resilient future. Equity is a central pillar of this plan. We've identified 4 key equity indicators to guide our work: reducing energy burden, improving public health, expanding access to clean energy jobs, and increasing participation in energy programs. This plan reflects extensive community input. We partnered with the Department of Neighborhoods to ensure inclusive outreach. This plan represents a bold yet practical vision for Seattle's energy future. It balances innovation with accountability and environmental progress with community well-being. I'm going to now hand it off to our team, led by Mike Haynes, to present the slide deck and answer any questions you may have before the vote.
Thanks, Dawn. Great intro. We're going to take a deeper dive on all the topics that she just addressed. So just to reiterate, we're here today to seeking your approval as our governing board of the second Clean Energy Implementation Plan, or the CEIP. This plan, as you will see, covers the years 2026 through 2029 inclusive and is required under the Clean Energy Transformation Act. We're going to hear that word CETA and CEIP several times today. The Clean Energy Transformation Act, abbreviated, also known as CETA, is a Washington state law signed by Governor Inslee. There we go. No. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, thank you. So in 2019 by Governor Inslee. The Clean Energy Transformation Act commits Washington state to an electricity supply free of greenhouse gas emissions by 2045. The law also ensures that customers benefiting from this, or all customers are benefiting from this transition to clean energy. All utilities in Washington state must follow CETA. Overall, CETA establishes a phased transition to cleaner energy that includes interim targets. At the end of this year, there is a no coal standard, which we are very much in line with. But moving forward in 2030, CETA also requires utilities to supply greenhouse gas neutral electricity, which again, City Light is well positioned to meet that standard. CETA requires utilities to equitably supply 100% of electricity from renewable or non-emitting resources, and we'll go into that a little bit more detail. Now we will discuss our Clean Energy Implementation Plan that requires your approval. The CEIP is a 4-year action plan detailing how City Light will progress towards CETA milestones. The plan sets interim and specific targets to meet standards set for 2030 and 2045, including renewable and energy efficiency targets. It also requires that we reach CETA targets with equity in mind. The CEIP asks us to identify indicators, specific actions, vulnerable populations, and highly impacted communities. We consulted with community to develop these, and we'll share those in more detail later in this presentation. As noted on the graphic, this slide, this is our second CEIP. Seattle City Council previously approved the 2022 to 2025 CEIP in 2022. And under Washington law, utilities are required to submit these plans every 4 years. Overall, the 2026 to 2029 CEIP reflects Seattle's continued commitment to environmental stewardship, equity, and transparency. It focuses on near-term measurable steps towards clean energy while ensuring that highly impacted communities and vulnerable populations are not inequitably burdened during the clean energy transition. So why your approval matters. As part of the, as I mentioned, as part of the law, utilities must submit a governing board approved clean energy implementation plan every 4 years, outlining specific actions they will take during the upcoming compliance period. The CEIP is a compliance requirement under Washington law, and the deadline to submit this to Washington State is January 1, 2026.
And so, as Mike mentioned, CETA has very clear language that as we're transitioning to 100% renewable / non-emitting energy sources, we must ensure we're not disproportionately burdened historically harmed communities. Specifically, CETA requires us to do 3 things. The first is define vulnerable populations. The second is identify indicators, which are essentially goals of how we want to progress towards as a utility and make sure we're transitioning equitably. And lastly, specific actions that will allow us to make progress towards the indicators / goals that were identified, which will also be required to be measured as we progress as well. And so beyond this requirement, we wanted to ensure that we're meaningfully engaging our customers, especially those from priority populations. We want to have their input inform our plans and priorities and work towards these long-lasting relationships. And so we approached the work very intentionally. We did an integrated approach where we coordinated across several plans. As you can see, these are just 3 of the plans where we all wanted to do some outreach to avoid overtaxing these same communities that we're trying to avoid overburdening already. And so before we even went out, though, we started, oh, thank you. I speak very fast. But before we even went out and talked to anyone, we started with reviewing what we had. So we had a lot of reports that we looked through, including the Transportation Electrification Strategic Plan 2.0. We looked at the current, most updated comprehensive plan, and even some urban native focus groups that we had done as a utility. And so from there, we identified common priorities and themes that arose by community, and also identified the gaps of who haven't we heard from enough and who is just completely missing that we should go back and really talk to them. And that's kind of how we approached our outreach opportunities, which including engaging neighborhoods like the South Park Neighborhood Association, several Seattle's commissions, including the Disability Commission, Seattle's Indigenous Advisory Group, and again, some additional focus groups that we had. And the results from the review, the literature review and engagement were really great. We got so much good feedback that not only serve these plans, but are continuing to serve other plans as they're coming up. And I really want to commend the team that I got to work with from City Light and also from the Department of Neighborhoods. It was a really great team effort because there's a lot of logistics to coordinate. As you can imagine, all that outreach that happens takes a lot of team effort. Next slide. And so, as we engage folks, one of the 3 things CETA asks us to collaborate with community on is identified who is it that we need to center for an equitable distribution of energy benefits and reduction of burdens. The 2 specific set of populations are identified as vulnerable populations and highly impacted communities per CETA. And so vulnerable populations can be thought of as more of a demographic term and self-identifying terms. So when we were out talking to a community, we asked folks, if the power were to go out, who would be the most impacted? Who absolutely needs it to survive? And consistently, folks raised the three folks or populations on the left that you see there. First, it's sensitive populations who need electricity to live / survive. So folks who are on medical devices, such as breathing machines, or may have medicine that needs to be refrigerated. People who rely on an electric wheelchair that needs to be charged and everything. The second group are lower income and/or Black, Indigenous, and people of color living in franchise agreement areas such as like White Center, Burien, and some of the unincorporated areas that we serve throughout King County as well. And the reason being for this one is recognizing that the City of Seattle has other departments who offer very complementary supportive resources that some of these cities and unincorporated areas do not have access to. And lastly, and unsurprisingly, obviously, our monolingual population are monolingual in a language other than English, or have limited English proficiency. And so on the right, we have the highly impacted communities. Again, this is very clearly determined by the state's own environmental health disparities map. The interactive map compares census tract across all of the state of Washington to evaluate disparities and rank them from most to least impacted by environmental disparities. So this tool analyzes 19 indicators across environmental exposures, environmental effects, socioeconomic factors, and sensitive populations. The lower ranking ones, as you can see, are like the lighter colors, but the highly impacted communities are the most environmentally affected census tract. As you can see, those are identified as the darkest purples, ranking of 9 or 10, and are largely, as you can see, concentrated here in some of the southern parts of the city. And so by identifying these communities and populations, we can, and PERSETA must be very intentional in ensuring that these populations are prioritized as we do commit to these transition of 100% renewable / non-emitting resources. Next slide, thank you. The other portion of the plan that we engaged folks on was identifying the indicators, aka the goals, and the specific actions which will help us make progress towards these goals. And so before I even get into the details of what's in here, I do want to note that these actions don't reflect all of what Seattle City Light is doing. City Light is a utility leader when it comes to equity-centered programming, so we really had to narrow the scope to center what we kept hearing consistently from priority populations. And so there were 4 big priorities that we consistently read and heard about that turned into our 4 indicators. And so one of the ones, unsurprisingly, is reducing household electric energy burden. And here we have a list of actions that we are going to pursue to make sure that we reach this goal. And so we have developing an accessible community solar program. So this is going to be very intentional. So regardless if you're a renter or an owner of, if you're lower income or anything, you can access this program and access more renewable energy sources. We'll be working to increase enrollees in our utility discount program, as this was a program that, if folks knew about, noted the difficulty in making sure that, the difficulty in applying for said program. And we'll also be evaluating best case practices for fair rate development. This is an expensive city to live in, and we want to ensure our customers aren't worrying about how they're going to pay for the electricity bill. And so we want to make sure we're, again, fairly, people are paying their fair share in this for their bills. The second indicator raised by community is to improve economic opportunity access in the green energy sector. And specifically, folks kept talking about young people. And so we really wanted, again, catered our actions towards youth or younger folks, the younger populations. And so first was creating an awareness campaign for high schoolers so students know about the wide swath of jobs in the green energy sector. I mean, personally, I wouldn't ever imagine I'd be working for a utility in the role that I do. And so we want to make sure that folks, whether you are planning to do a 4-year degree, whether you want to go straight into the trades, there's a place for you in this industry. We're also going to stand up a high school internship program targeting students in income-qualified households. And similar as above, want to make sure high schoolers know and have an idea of what working at a utility is like in the green energy industry. And last is just continuing to stand up and expand our EV charger installation program, where we'll be targeting women and minority-owned businesses. We're going to be installing a lot of chargers in the coming years and wanting to make sure, again, reducing those barriers for folks who may not typically have the same access. Thank you. The third indicator, thank you. The third indicator is to improve community health. This was a tough one, as you can imagine, for a utility.
Please pause for one moment. I'm noticing Vice Chair Juarez has her hand raised.
Yes. Thank you. Is it Gracia? Am I saying your name correctly?
Gracia, yes.
Okay, wow. You talk very fast, but thank you.
I apologize. I'm trying to slow down.
No, it's okay. We got it. You're doing great. I just want to make sure I'm keeping up with you. I just have a quick question. I don't know if you can answer it or if the CEO can. From the last time I was on this committee, have we increased the UDP program? Has there been more enrollees? Do we have data on that?
We do have data, and the number of enrollees fluctuates. Unfortunately, in the last 9 months now, we have seen some declines. People are concerned with the ICE impact. They're concerned about applying for things where they are having to give their personal information. And so we're actually working on how can we make that easier and less stressful in the current conditions. So that has impacted it.
Thank you, Manager or CEO Don Lindell. Because that came up in a conversation I had a couple days ago about the UTP, and you hit it right on the head. Thank you so much. I know that, and I'm not making a joke here, that ICE has had a chilling effect on the UDP and enrollees, because I remember when now Mayor Harrell was part of this committee, as well as Councilmember Sawant, and we would get kind of an update once in a while. Madam Chair, you'll probably be getting this as well. Where we were at in enrollees and what communities we were helping out, and we were steadily increasing it. So I was just asking, because I had been gone for a while, what the update was, but I knew that there was some impact on that on some of our neighbors, our immigrant neighbors, friends, relatives, that there was concern about giving the government information. So I would be forever in your debt if you could provide the chair and us at some point, maybe brief us where we're at on that and what we can do to make sure that those folks are getting the benefits of the utility discount program, because that's what it was designed for all the priority groups that you listed in those prior slides. And so I would hate to see that service, people not taking advantage of it out of fear. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Just to let you know, our current numbers are slightly over 35,000.
Okay.
Thank you, Vice Chair Juarez. Fabulous question. I certainly share in your interest on this topic, and we'll certainly be revisiting this given the moment that we're in. And please proceed with the presentation. Thank you.
Of course. And so, as I was mentioning, the third indicator is improving community health. And so for us to support this goal, we'll be able to target our transportation electrification investments in overburdened communities to encourage the vehicle electrification and ideally reducing car and truck emissions in these same communities. Now, the last indicator, but not the least, is aimed at increasing program participation from highly impacted communities and vulnerable populations. The specific actions here are to increase utility assistance partnerships with trusted organizations. We currently partner with a few CBOs to help enroll customers and want to expand these partnerships with trusted messengers. As we were just talking about, especially in today's political climate, we recognize that government agencies are not necessarily the most trusted individuals, and so these partnerships are crucial to increase enrollment in all of our programs. We'll also be regularly updating and implementing our biannual language access plan and making sure that our colleagues have easy access to it, so that way, again, we're providing the languages that folks are seeking and the resources that they need. And lastly, we'll be doing targeted recruitment towards community-serving buildings like multifamily buildings, small businesses, and organizations to increase awareness and participation in our programs, and hopefully, again, get more folks enrolled in these. And lastly, here is to increase adoption of our weatherization and energy efficiency programs by creating a more comprehensive suite of a one-stop shop, essentially, where people can just come and identify which programs they qualify for. I also want to note that as we were having these conversations, we heard a wide range of feedback that wasn't specific for the CAP, but ways to improve as a utility that we are reflecting on as well. And so just want to recognize that we are being very intentional. And so even if folks mention things that weren't specific to this, we are taking that feedback back and trying to do better for these customers. And so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gracia. So now we're going to talk some of the targets that I mentioned earlier. Now we've talked about equity indicators and specific actions. The CEIP also requires targets, which we have listed in the table shown on the current slide. These are renewable and non-emitting targets for serving retail electric load for the next 4 years. The table summarizes the projected percentages of renewable and non-emitting energy used to serve city light load each year during the 4-year period from 2026 to 2029. So these are targets. Renewable, if you need to know, includes water, wind, solar, geothermal, renewable natural gas, renewable hydrogen, wave, ocean, tidal, some biodiesel fuel, and also biomass energy. Non-emitting includes electricity from generating facility or a resource that provides electric energy capacity, or what we call ancillary services to an electric utility. This can include nuclear, as that does not emit greenhouse gases as a byproduct of the generation. It excludes renewable resources, so 2 specific categories there, and these are the numbers which we are well positioned to meet. So just to reiterate, these percentages represent what percent of our load is being met with what type of energy. These are our goals, and we are well ahead of the expected curve. This blue table contains required specific targets for renewable energy, energy efficiency, and demand response. The state requires a 4-year target as listed on this slide, but there is an additional annual breakdown included in the CEIP template that's part of your packet. The renewable energy renewable energy of the total amount of forecasted renewable energy generation from the 2024 City Light Integrated Resources Plan Progress Report. This is in contrast to the previous slide, which only reflects energy to serve load in City Light's portfolio over the next 4 years, including planned resource additions. So the renewable energy target is the quantity of average megawatts of electrical energy generation. It is not a nameplate capacity or needed resource additions, but rather expected annual generation from existing resources. The integrated resource plan does specify the megawatt nameplate of additional resources needed, but the renewable energy targets for this CEIP does not include new builds or new sources. The energy efficiency and demand response targets are for additional average megawatts and megawatts respectively. The energy efficiency target is the amount expressed in average megawatts of the first year savings of energy efficiency resources expected to be acquired during the period. Demand response target includes an amount expressed in megawatts of demand response resources acquired during the period. These targets are consistent with our integrated resources plan and demand side management potential assessment, which we've heard a lot about. We also would like to, feel like we're in a really good place with all of these targets with our current portfolio. The energy efficiency and demand response targets are, actually, I've just read that, so next slide.
Yeah, Mike, your cadence is a lot different than Grishia's. So you might want to pep it up a bit, bud.
Got it. So just to close out in these next 2 slides, again, I want to share that the CEIP is consistent with other city light plans, such as our strategic plan, integrated resources plan, demand side management potential assessment. The CEIP is also consistent with other city plans and the climate action plan update. Next slide. As a reminder, utilities are required to submit this plan. It is due at the end of this year or January 1, 2026. And with that, we thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Light team. Colleagues, questions? I see Councilmember Strauss.
Yeah, just quickly, Gracia, thank you for your presentation and for the conversation that we had in the office before recess. I will just flag the same thing that Councilmember War has flagged about the utility discount program, that changes do need to be made. I know that we've been in those discussions. They've been going on for years and we continue to have them, but I do think that we're at a point where some changes do need to be made. just thank you for all of your work. The conversations that we were having about vulnerable populations and the fact that the vulnerable populations don't necessarily live in the city of Seattle, and as a utility provider that is regional beyond just our city boundaries, it is our job as the board of City Light, we must be thinking of them as well. And for those medically vulnerable populations, especially whether, as you said, wheelchairs, breathing devices, whether that's an oxygen condenser or medicine in the fridge, 24-hour power outage can send people to the hospital that are otherwise stabilized. So I just really appreciate your work. Really good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. Colleagues, any additional questions at this time? If not, I will be moving us forward. So I move that the committee recommend the adoption of Resolution 32181. Is there a second?
Second. Wait, you guys.
That was me this time.
You're just messing with me. I second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. It is moved and seconded to recommend the adoption of the resolution. Are there any final comments? All right, will the clerk please call the roll on the committee recommendation to adopt the resolution?
Vice Chair Juarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Saka.
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon.
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss.
Aye.
Chair Rink.
Aye.
There are 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions.
Great. The motion carries, and the committee recommendation that the resolution be adopted will be sent to the September 16th City Council meeting. Thank you for your presentation and time today and for your work. And with that, will the committee clerk please read item 3 into the record?
Item 3, Council Bill 121063, an ordinance relating to the City Light Department, authorizing the department develop programs, enter into agreements with customers and other parties, and provide incentives for modifications to customer electricity consumption, and amending Section 21.49.130 of the Seattle Municipal Code. Briefing, discussion, and possible votes.
Wonderful, thank you. And with that, if everyone, you know the drill, if you could take a moment to introduce yourselves for the record.
Good morning, Dawn Lindell, General Manager and CEO of Seattle City Light.
Good morning, council members. My name is Karen Liu, and I'm a conservation policy analyst at Seattle City Light.
Good morning, council members. Joe Fernandy, Director of Customer Energy Solutions at City Light.
Good morning. Craig Smith, Chief Customer Officer at Seattle City Light.
And I'm Jennifer Finnegan with Customer Energy Solutions at Seattle City Light.
Good morning, Chair Rink and committee members. Today we are here to seek legal authority to create demand response programs and services. This is an important step in preparing Seattle's energy for a cleaner, more affordable, and more resilient future. This legal authority will enable us to fulfill our obligation under the Clean Energy Transformation Act and supports the targets identified in our Integrated Resources Plan. More importantly, it gives us practical tools to manage energy use during times of high demand. Demand response is simple in concept. Instead of buying more costly power, or building new infrastructure, we work with customers to shift or reduce energy use when the grid is under strain. Customers, such as Nucor Steel, may receive incentives for participating, and the entire system benefits from lower costs and greater reliability. This is about more than compliance. It is about lowering costs for all our customers, improving our ability to handle extreme weather, and cutting emissions by reducing reliance on fossil fuel-based power purchases. I am now going to hand it off to our team, led by Joe Fernandy, to kick off the presentation and answer any questions you may have before the vote.
Thank you, Dawn, and good morning, council members. We are here today to present on a demand response ordinance. Karen will be our presenter today, but before I turn it over to Karen, I'd like to open with a few remarks. So first, the demand response ordinance seeks to gain authority to do three things. One, to build out our demand response portfolio and establish demand response programs for our customers, to offer incentives for modifications to customer consumption, and to enter into agreements with customers and other parties. It is by design that we're here today alongside our colleagues who presented on the Clean Energy Implementation Plan. As you heard, our CEIP does many things, but one thing that it does is it requires utilities to set and achieve a 4-year target that identifies all achievable, available, and cost-effective demand response in our service territory. For the first time, our demand response potential assessment identified demand response as a cost-effective resource as part of our integrated resource plan. And that's where you see that 12 megawatts by 2029. So this is extremely similar to how we approach energy efficiency. We follow a methodology set by state law to perform a study which identifies that cost-effective potential. We come before council to set that target. We design and implement a portfolio of programs to meet that target. We provide incentives to our customers through participation agreements, and we report on our accomplishments to the state. So the CEIP requires that we set and meet a target for demand response. We have authority to do this for energy efficiency, but we do not yet for demand response, which is why we're here today. In our 10-year strategic roadmap, managing load growth and peaks is one of 4 strategic outcomes within our power supply focus area. While utilities across the nation run demand response programs, it is a new and very important tool in City Light's toolbox to cost-effectively manage peak, improving reliability at both the system and the distribution level, mitigating rate pressure, and reducing our emissions in the process. This ordinance will give City Light authority to build out an entire portfolio of demand response products and services in partnership with our customers, enable us to meet those CEIP targets, and strengthen our alignment with our strategic plan. And with that, I'll hand it off to Karen Liu to lead the presentation. Thank you.
Please pause.
I was just checking if there were tech issues online.
Yes. Okay. Do you want a second?
Yeah, let's. And our clerk has stepped out for a moment, so I'm just going to pause us here for 1 second. I think the slides should be moving.
Are you able to unshare and reshare?
It's not sharing.
Yes? Pardon me? Councilmember Saka, are you able to see the slide deck? I'm seeing nodding and yes. Okay. Okay.
Madam Chair, was there a slide deck when Craig was speaking? Because I didn't see.
No, Councilmember Juarez, that was Joe Fernandes speaking, and there were no slides.
Joe.
That was just my intro.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. Okay, great. Thought it was me. Okay, good. It was me. So.
But just to confirm, Vice Chair Juarez, you can see a slide right now that says agenda with 5 points. Okay.
I can now. Thank you.
Okay. Great. We're all settled then. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So on the agenda for today, I wanted to walk you through the structure of this presentation. I'll be starting by giving some definitions, some key terms around demand response that will give you some background and help improve your understanding throughout the presentation. Then I'll move into the future outlook and highlight some future problems we might be solving for with demand response. Third, I'll discuss drivers, discussing why we're interested in demand response as a potential tool. I'll highlight some opportunities, describe different things we can tap into, and what examples might look like. And finally, I'll reiterate the purpose of the ordinance and highlight what we are asking for approval for. So for definitions, to begin, the first term is, of course, demand response, which is a broad term for strategies that are used to shift when electricity is consumed, reduce consumption during peak times, or reduce total consumption. So I'll be using this graphic on the slide to define a couple of the key terms, and I'll start from the bottom moving up. So on the x-axis is time, and on the y-axis is kilowatts, which is the unit for power. Starting from the bottom, load is the total amount of energy that customers are expected to consume over a period of time. So I'll be talking about two types of load. The first is base load, which is the solid black line that's running across the middle of the graphic. This represents a steady, continuous electricity demand that an electrical grid needs to be able to meet at all times. So this is what we as a utility need to be able to serve our customers. Moving to the green line, which is actual load, this is the total amount of energy that's being used over time, and it fluctuates because it depends on consumer demand throughout a day. So typically, the actual load is below the base load, else you'll see around the middle of the graphic. So this typically means that we're able to meet our customer demand, but we're starting to see some peaks that are exceeding our base load, kind of on the left and right-hand sides of the graphic, which means that we need to start looking into new solutions to meet this increased customer demand. Moving to the top, peak is the maximum amount of powers that customers are expected to consume instantaneously. So while load is happening over time, peak is happening at a really specific moment in time. So as an example, a lot of utilities have an evening peak sometime between 5 and 7 p.m., and this is typically because lots of people are returning home from work and turning on all of their electrical appliances at once. Okay, now moving into our future outlook, these are some of the problems that we might be solving for in the future. So on this chart, on the x-axis is years, and on the y-axis is megawatts, which is a unit for power. So on the left side of the chart, we're seeing historical data. So these are in solid lines, and this is what has already happened in the past. On the right side of the chart is forecasted data in dotted lines, and this is what we think is going to happen in the future based on modeling. So the bottom gray line that's dotted represents our 2020 forecast, and the blue line on top of that represents our 2023 forecast. So the main thing that changed between 2020 and 2023 is that in 2020, we didn't really foresee anything that would be happening in the future that would really increase electricity demand in our service area. However, in 2023, we updated our forecast and started including the impacts of electrifying transportation and buildings primarily. So what this resulted in, the bottom half of the chart is showing us that overall our energy consumption is increasing over time. The top portion of the chart is showing us that our peaks are getting bigger. So this means that the maximum amount of power we're using at once is increasing. So this is posing an interesting issue for us because we have to figure out how to solve for both of these new challenges, an increase in overall load and also more extreme peaks. Moving into drivers for why we're interested in demand response, as I briefly mentioned on the previous slide, building and transportation electrification are increasing our customer electricity needs. We're also seeing increased frequency, duration, and magnitude of extreme weather events like very cold or hot weather. We're also seeing that wholesale market prices are going up overall, but they're also getting more unpredictably expensive, especially during these extreme weather events. So in order to meet our future electricity needs, it requires us as a utility adding a mix of supply-side resources like large-scale wind and solar farms, and also demand-side resources such as energy efficiency and demand response. Demand response is a demand-side resource that can help us meet our future electricity needs and the Clean Energy Implementation Plan target of 12 megawatts by 2029. So in terms of opportunities for demand response, there's really something for each type of customer, whether they're residential, commercial, or industrial. And we're seeing that in an increasingly electrified world, there's different opportunities for customers to participate through different technologies like smart thermostats, water heaters, heating and cooling equipment, electric vehicles, lighting controls, batteries, to name a few. And there are also multiple mechanisms for delivering a demand response program, like having an incentive program, developing a rate, or even directly contracting with customers. It's likely that we'll need to tap into most of these options and different permutations to be able to build up a comprehensive portfolio to meet our targets. So here is one example that I wanted to highlight of an industrial demand response program. So we've actually had several large key customers express interest in a demand response offering to help them manage their costs. Their key driver is really a desire to save on their energy bill due to increasing rates and also market uncertainty for their products. These customers, including Nucor and Ashgrove, have expressed this interest to City Council. So as a result, City Light has committed to partnering with these customers to co-develop a demand response offering. We are currently in the process of designing a program, and this will launch by the end of the year if this ordinance is approved. At a high level, to describe this program, the utility will ask customers to reduce their electricity consumption when we see that wholesale market prices are sufficiently high. And this often is happening when we have extreme weather events such as extreme hot or cold. The customers can then respond by either modifying, delaying, or shutting down their industrial processes. And as a result, for responding, customers will receive an incentive. The purpose of this program is to avoid high wholesale market prices year-round as we need. And the design is intentional to maximize value for both the participants through the incentives they will receive, and also the utility and all ratepayers by reducing our costly purchases on the wholesale market, and also increasing an opportunity to benefit from any excess generation we might have. So to wrap up and reiterate the purpose of this ordinance, Seattle City Light is seeking the authority to amend the Seattle Municipal Code to establish demand response programs, offer incentives for modifications to customer consumption, and enter into agreements with customers and other parties. And in this case, other parties refers to any third party that might be managing a customer's energy usage. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, opening this up for questions. Vice Chair Juarez. Vice Chair Juarez, you are muted. If you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. I know you mentioned Nucor and some of our other industrial clients in which we have contracts with. When you say incentives, what are you saying? Are you saying you're going to lower their costs?
To answer that briefly, I'd say yes. Those reductions in energy consumption during those peak periods, we would provide a financial incentive for them opting in to that event, we call it. So we would notify them the day prior. If we know it's going to be very hot the next day and prices are forecast to be very high, the customer decides whether or not they'd like to opt into the event. If they do, they would reduce or shift their energy consumption for a period of 24 hours. So what that looks like is an incentive check to that customer.
So what if you don't have the answer, that's okay, but I know Nucor is one of our biggest industrial clients. So it looks like the program is voluntary if you notify them the day ahead. So what are we talking about well, if you have an example, if you don't, I understand. What does the dollar figure look like? You know, baseline what they normally pay, because I know they're big clients.
Yeah, I can pull that up here in a moment, but I would say for a particular event, it might look like in the tens of thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands. It really depends on the market price of electricity at that moment. So that chart that Karen shared earlier, when we're buyers on the market, when we don't have enough supply to meet our demand and we have to go buy it, let's say it costs $10 at the store, we can buy that capacity from a customer for $5 and return the other $5 that we saved to all of our customers in the form of reduced rate pressure.
Got it. Thank you.
And of course,
thank you, Madam.
I just want to add that that the industrial customer is taking a hit. They're taking a hit to not produce during this time. So the incentive check helps to offset some of the costs they incur by decreasing our peak load. And that peak price of energy, we've seen it above $1,000 a megawatt hour. So that that certainly can offset or contribute to some significant savings for all customers because the price we pay per megawatt hour off the market is spread across all customers. So every customer benefits, and only a couple of large customers will be taking the financial hit. So that's meant to incent that. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Vice Chair Juarez. Councilmember Saka.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the City Light team, CEO Lindell, for coming and sharing your expertise on this very, very important topic. I geek out about this stuff because it's exceptionally important, important for our city, important for our customers and our ratepayers across the region. So it's also important for me and my office because one of the industrial customers that you referenced, Nucor Steel, is one of my constituents in Delridge. And I've had the pleasure and privilege of touring their operations at firsthand and witnessing the magic made there, so to speak. And I learned that steel manufacturing and steel production rather is a very energy intensive process. And so demand response capabilities and pricing, that is definitely one of their top priorities for the city. And so I'm delighted that this proposal here is before us to help enable. It benefits more than just the Nucor Steels of the world. It benefits all ratepayers when we have flexible pricing options like this as well. So this is super cool stuff. Love to hear it. Nucor Steel, again, is a huge customer, also happens to be a constituent of mine. And if I'm recalling correctly, they are the #2 top rate-paying customer for City Light after the University of Washington. At least maybe that it might be dated by now, but in any event, excited that this is for us. Thank you for all the hard work that went behind it. I have not yet, I'm comfortable if we need a vote on it today. I have not yet had an opportunity to directly engage with Nucor or anyone else on this yet. So we'll do that, but happy to vote on it today. Chair, if that's where we land. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is the example that I'm sharing here. It's just one. We're looking to build out a comprehensive portfolio that spans all of our customers and all the various demand response opportunities for different types of end uses. So we appreciate your support for helping us to begin to build a robust portfolio here, just as we've done with our energy efficiency portfolio.
And I'll also add that we've been partnering very closely with Nucor and some of our other large industrial customers as we design and develop this particular offering to ensure that it's mutually beneficial to those customers and City Light and its customers.
Wonderful. Thank you all. And to echo Councilmember Sacco's enthusiasm or excitement over this legislation, I certainly share in that. And coincidentally, I'll be doing a site visit at Nucor today, so very timely site visit for considering this legislation. Colleagues, any additional questions at this time?
I just want to add that I did my field trip there. It was pretty cool. So.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Sure. Wear a hat, goggles.
Got it. I didn't wear heels today. I hope that helps. Wonderful. Well, with that, colleagues, it is our intention to. Councilmember Strauss, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for putting this together. I know that demand response will help us, especially once we get a little bit closer towards time of day pricing. All of these things together will help us smooth that bump in the load. And really, it's going to save us money over time, and it's going to keep our reservoirs more full so that we are able to be more responsive to our customers. I think our next presentation is going to demonstrate the need for us to be a little bit more independent, and this is how we do it. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. Final questions? Colleagues, it is our intention to move this forward today. So with that, I move that the committee recommend the adoption of Council Bill 121063. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any final comments? Wonderful. Will the committee clerk please call the roll on the committee recommendation to adopt the ordinance?
Vice Chair Juarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Saka.
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon.
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss.
Yes, aye.
Chair Rink.
Yes.
There are 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions.
The motion carries, and the committee recommendation that the ordinance be confirmed will be sent to the September 16th City Council meeting. Perfect. And now we will move on to item 4. Will the committee clerk please read item 4 into the record?
Council Bill 121062, an ordinance relating to City Light Department authorizing the execution of a 16-year power purchase agreement with the Bonneville Power Administration and relating agreements. Briefing, discussion, and possible vote.
Thank you so much, and I'll give folks a moment to come up to the front. And when folks get settled in and ready, if you can please introduce yourself for the record before speaking.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lindell, General Manager and CEO for Seattle City Light.
Jeff Wolf, Legal Affairs Advisor for Seattle City Light.
Siobhan Doherty, Power Supply Officer for Seattle City Light.
Josh Walter, Manager of Power Contracts and Regional Affairs for Seattle City Light.
All right. Good morning, Chair Rink and committee members. Today we are here to brief you on Seattle City Light's proposed long-term power purchase agreement with the Bonneville Power Administration, or BPA. This is known as the Provider of Choice contract. This contract represents the backbone of our regional power supply and is critical for ensuring affordable, reliable, and clean electricity for Seattle through 2044. BPA supplies roughly 40% of Seattle City Light's load today, making it our single largest source of power. BPA's hydropower is carbon-free, cost-based, and regionally controlled, aligning with Seattle's climate and affordability goals. Without this contract, City Light would need to replace about 570 average megawatts of power at 2 to 3 times the cost of BPA power. The provider of choice process was collaborative, developed with utilities across the Northwest to ensure fairness, stability, and regional reliability. Continuing this longstanding partnership maintains Seattle's resiliency to climate change and helps keep energy burdens lower for vulnerable communities. Today, we are asking for your approval of the ordinance that authorizes City Light's General Manager and CEO to execute the new BPA Provider of Choice contract and related agreements. This step ensures that Seattle locks in the least cost, most reliable resource in the region for the next 2 decades. I will now hand off the presentation to Siobhan Doherty and Josh Walter to present the slide deck and address any questions you may have regarding this legislation.
Thank you, Dawn. Good morning. We can go to the next slide, please. So the agenda for today is to provide a little bit of background on the power supply resources for Seattle City Light, background on the Bonneville Power Administration, then we'll get into details on the contract process. Next slide, please. Thanks. This slide is showing our 2024 power mix. As Dawn mentioned, and as we can see, the green slice here is Bonneville Power Administration. It provides about 45% of the power that is served to City Light customers. Thanks to the ownership of several large dams and our long-term hydro contracts, City Light has a very clean power supply. Over 90% of our power mix is emissions-free. In addition to the Bonneville Power Administration, the blue slice is our owned hydropower projects, including the Skagit project in Boundary. The rest of our power mix comes from wind and other resources. Go to the next one. All right. We are forecasting our load to grow in the coming years. This is the same information that Karen really nicely presented in the last presentation. Along the horizontal axis, we have years from 2010 out through 2045, and along the vertical axis, we have megawatts. The lower blue solid line is what our actual energy usage looked like over the past 10 plus years. And despite rapid growth in Seattle, we've kept our electricity usage flat to slightly declining due to the investments we've been able to make in energy efficiency. The top blue line is our peaks. So this is the highest energy usage during the day. These have gone up and down, but over the past couple of years, we've seen a notable increase in peak electricity. We hit a new peak record in December 2022, and then again in January 2024, we beat that peak by over 100 megawatts. Those are the two highest electricity usages we've had in the past 30 years. And we expect this to continue to grow as a result of some of the changing, more extreme weather that we're seeing. We also expect our forecasted load to grow. We see that's being impacted by electrification from buildings and transportation, as well as growth around the city. Thanks. So today we're asking for approval to sign a new contract with Bonneville Power Administration. Bonneville Power Administration, or BPA, is a federal agency under the Department of Energy. In addition to providing about 45% of City Light's power, they provide 28% of the power across the region in the Northwest. Go ahead to the next slide, thank you. This slide is showing Bonneville's service territory all across the yellow. So they serve all of Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, and then parts of Montana and slight bits of California. On this slide, each of the orange squares is one of the Bonneville Power Administration operated dams. So we're getting primarily hydropower from Bonneville. They also sell the output of the Nuclear Columbia Generating Station. We're buying our power from BPA through a long-term contract that will be expiring in September 2028. Over the past 4 years, we've collaborated with BPA and other customers across the region to develop a new contract for when our current contract expires. And Josh is going to talk a little bit about that process.
Thank you, Siobhan, for the BPA overview. We are in the home stretch, so for the last portion of this presentation, I plan to briefly go over the provider of choice process and the ordinance's authority request to enter into the next contract with BPA. Bonneville initiated contract renewal discussions back in 2021 and has partnered with its customers to build a mutually acceptable contract between BPA and its various customers and customer classes. Both Bonneville and its customers performed a significant level of advocacy and due diligence throughout this process, including policy review, legal review, addressing rate design equity, and updates to product design. This was a lengthy process that only recently, in the last 2 or 3 months, has accumulated in the final contract language we are seeking approval to enter into. Next slide. The contract itself is a power purchase agreement to purchase our preference share of the federal system for 16 years with no disruption to continuity of service. The current contract expires on September 30th, 2028, and the new terms and service offerings start October 1st, 2028. This is a large and important part of our portfolio, as Siobhan referenced earlier, and has a total expected cost of approximately $3 billion over the course of the contract. In terms of value, there are no other resources available to serve our customers at the volume and price in the market today or projected into the future. This slide illustrates on the vertical axis the average price per megawatt hour of resource types City Light included in it evaluated in our 2024 integrated resource plan. And on the horizontal axis, the resource types. Bonneville's contract price is just about half the price of the 2 available intermittent non-emitting resources, that being wind and solar, and more than 3 times less expensive than a baseload non-emitting resource such as geothermal. None of these resource types can provide the same level of price or value and volume that Bonneville's preference power can provide. Again, as referenced earlier, Bonneville provides between 40 and 45% of our annual energy needs. So this, as our concluding slide, what we are, and including the background that Siobhan provided, the background that Dawn provided, the information on the due diligence we have performed, on the value, the product choice, and the terms of the agreement, as well as the practical considerations associated with resource costs and availability. We are requesting the authority to enter into a new agreement with Bonneville through this ordinance. That concludes our slides, and are happy to answer questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Colleagues, questions? Councilmember Strauss?
I mean, we had quite a bit of discussion. We know that Bonneville Power is under immense pressure from all of their energy demands on the east side of the state and other places, and that it's going to become more expensive. So just all the work that we can do to drive down our demand here in the city while understanding our demand curve is going to keep going up, and for good reason. But then how do we supplement that? I know in the other conversations that we've had many different presentations over the last few months about creating the public-private partnerships we've got the solar project going on in Oregon right now. We've got the demand response that we just discussed, and we're looking at other generation ideas. Anything else that we need to be thinking about as we are looking at our provider of choice contract, especially with Bonneville and all the changes that are going on at the federal government?
Bonneville will continue to be a really important part of our portfolio. As a preference, customers of public utility, we have access to a portion of that system. So we will continue to pursue that, and we'll continue to work closely with Bonneville, with our other public power colleagues, to make sure that continues to be an available resource for us. And then, as you mentioned, we are seeing our load grow, and so we will be pursuing other options to meet that load growth. So demand response, energy efficiency would be important parts of that, and we'll also be looking at large utility scale resources, wind, solar, geothermal, as well as small modular reactors.
And if we can go back to slide 9, just tie this all together. You've got wind, solar, the BPA contract, geothermal, all at different costs. So within this green section, the $40 megawatt hour, if we are having to buy power from Bonneville that is more than what is in this contract, is that at a different cost?
Yeah, so the contract gives us access to a portion of Bonneville's system. It's called Tier 1. Bonneville serves that to us at cost. So they've invested a lot of money into building up these hydropower projects, and they're very low cost now that they are operating. If we want to go beyond our Tier 1 portion, the rest will be sold to us at market cost, which would be more expensive significantly compared to that $40 per megawatt hour.
And I'm seeing the slides here, 28% to Northwest. The BPA provides 28% of the power to the Northwest. Can you remind me again how much? Is it 24% to the City Light?
In the 40s, between 40 and 45%.
So we are basing about half of our rate on this green bar at $40 a megawatt hour. It's essentially correct, right?
That's right, and it'll change. It does change right now, year to year, depending on the water, because it is so hydropower dependent. Mm-hmm. And as our load grows, that slice from Bonneville will stay the same size. So as a percentage, it'll go down, but it is a significant part of our power portfolio.
And I think that's just such an important thing that underpins all of our work here at City Light is, yes, we get 20% of our power from the Skagit hydro facilities. I don't know where Boundary Dam, if
20.
About 20 also.
Boundary alone does another 20. So from there, we still have, that's still 60% of our power load that we have to get. And so this is why we've been able to keep rates down. And if this changes, that it creates a big problem. And that's the importance of this contract. But then just tying it back to what we've been discussing before is, if we're not able to get our demand peaks shaved to a lower level, we're going to have a much bigger problem. Because can you remind me how much, the public market for Bonneville's power, it changes every day. What's the range?
It's hourly.
Oh, yeah.
and even within that. So, and the average cost on the market for the last 5 years has been in the 70s on average, but it peaks well over $1,000 in any given at those top hours when everybody needs it. It was peaking in 2024 January. Do you guys have a idea?
It was consistently $1,000 per megawatt hour for that weekend over MLK weekend, every hour.
Every hour, everyone else who did not have a contract like in this green bar was paying $1,000 for what we were paying 40. Is that?
We were also in that market, and we were also selling in that market. But yes, if we didn't have the energy and we had to buy it, it was $1,000 a megawatt.
Yep.
So that's what every utility faced, and some of them ran into $35 to $100 million expense in one weekend because of that.
And this is a 16-year purchase agreement?
That's right.
And so this will be on the books for the next 16 years?
It'll go through 2044.
Okay. Any reason we don't do longer? I know that our relicensing processes last 30 years. Is this a standard amount of time? Should we be asking for longer?
Time. I think Bonneville has a statutory requirement around how long the contract is they can offer to us.
Okay.
And so several years ahead of that 2044 end date, we'll start negotiations for the next contract.
So here's the trick question that we asked in the briefing, but Mike Haynes wasn't there. What is the difference between the rotators in Bonneville's system than in ours? We'll get back to you about that later. Which one's which? We'll find out at the next episode of the Sustainability, City Light, and Arts and Culture Committee. With that, over to you, Chair. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Councilmember Strauss. Colleagues, additional questions?
Nope.
Right, not seeing any right now. I'll just highlight one, kind of building on a point that Councilmember Strauss made, just in particular to Bonneville. I know at the beginning of this year, there was a Seattle Times piece related to layoffs by the federal administration workers at Bonneville, and that, of course, raising concerns about the ability for Bonneville to produce energy and rising costs. Can you just speak to how that issue may have been addressed in recent months or where things stand right now?
Sure. The second go-round of voluntary reductions was narrowed so that key positions at Bonneville were not offered that, which helped considerably. And just in the last week or so, the hiring freeze for a small amount of specific positions has been lifted, and they are able to post for some of the positions that they need to replace in critical areas, operationally, power marketing, engineering kinds of things. So anything else that you'd like to add?
Nope, I was going to say the same thing.
Okay.
That's exactly right. The end of last week, the administration lifted the freeze on hiring for mission-critical staff at Bonneville.
That's a great update and one is certainly needed to hear before moving forward on this. And I want to commend the work of City Light, also working with a congressional delegation and others in D.C. to ensure that Bonneville remains able to fulfill its role in providing much power to the Pacific Northwest. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Colleagues, any final questions? We are taking action on this today. Not seeing any. With that, I move that the committee recommend adoption of Council Bill 121062. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair. It has been moved and seconded to recommend the adoption of the ordinance. Are there any final comments? Will the committee clerk please call the roll on the committee recommendation to adopt the ordinance?
Vice Chair Juarez.
Aye.
Councilmember Saka.
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon.
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss.
Aye.
Chair Rink.
Yes.
There are 5 in favor, 0 opposed, and 0 abstentions.
Okay, the motion carries, and the committee recommendation that the ordinance be confirmed will be sent to the September 16th City Council meeting. And colleagues, we have reached the end of today's agenda. Is there any further business to come before the committee before we adjourn? And thank you, City Light, also for being here.
Thank you.
Any further business?
Thank you.
Thank you. We all learned a lot, colleagues, like not to cross our vice chair when it comes to a second. So thank you, Vice Chair.
I just want you to watch Galaxy Quest. That's a great scene.
Well, I know what I'm doing this
Thank you.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Well, with that, hearing no further business to come before the committee, we are adjourned. It is 11:01 a.m. Thank you all, and have a good weekend.